Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge.
Let's sit upright, suspend the head from above. Let your body become soft. Releasing tension into the structure, not collapsing, and not cultivating stiffness or tension in the body. And as always, while practicing, sit still. Don't move, don't fidget. Breathe in a way that feels nice, comfortable. And receive yourself, as well as this moment, with great openness, allowing everything to be just as it is. We're not here to manage, we're not here to change. This is not about intention, it's more about attention. Let your body gradually fill up with consciousness, feeling your body as you breathe in. And notice how everything begins to settle, to soften as you breathe out. Breathing in, feeling the legs. Breathing out, let your legs soften. Breathing in, feeling your belly. Breathing out, let the belly become soft. And let that wave of release go through the belly into the legs, connecting legs and belly. Breathing in, feeling your heart, your chest. As you breathe out, softening, releasing the heart, the chest. And let that wave sink down into the belly and your legs. Breathing in, feeling your shoulders and arms. Breathing out, softening, releasing shoulders and arms. And let the wave travel through your heart, your chest, all the way down into the legs. Breathing in, feeling your head. And breathing out, softening the head. And let the wave travel through the rest of your body into the seat. Would your consciousness remain in the entire body? Experience your body as being made out of breath, subtle like a mist of sensations. Rest with this perception, enjoying it. And we just sit in open present moment awareness, knowing where the attention is, knowing what is happening while it is happening, without interfering, controlling. There's nothing to try, nothing to change. Leave everything as it is. Resting in this aliveness. Notice that there is two major things happening. One is tension, resistance, fighting, struggling, contracting. And the other is releasing, opening, letting go, softening, allowing, surrendering. One is stressful, the other is easeful. There's no law that states whenever stress arises, you have to respond with stress. Your great freedom is to learn that you can also respond with release, with opening, softening. Giving space for the truth to exist. Letting go of our conflict with reality. rather than stepping into the drama, becoming a participant. Just remain as an observer, a witness. Not taking whatever happens personally. But understanding it simply as natural expressions of life. Allowing them to unfold, arise, change, and pass. Is all that ever happens. Just energy moving. And in your own time, you can slowly come back. Keep the mind and the body together as you stretch a bit. Good morning again. It's good to have all of you. So today I was inspired by reading a post on Facebook. Someone posted something about being triggered and how being triggered is basically our own responsibility, and we can't expect the world to tiptoe around us just because we're triggered. To go back to one of my favorite kind of quotes by Shantideva, which is something like, you can't cover the entire earth in leather so that you don't step into thorns, but you can cover your own 2 feet and it has the same effect. So what is it to be triggered? What does that actually mean, or what does it imply? I think it implies basically that you're absolutely helpless, that you have zero awareness in that moment. You are just subject to conditioning, just subject to a series of causes and conditions taking place, pulling you right in, taking you on a ride. Kind of a bit like a robot with a lot of buttons. Imagine that if you push one button, something happens. Push another button, something happens. Even people say that too, right? He's pushing my buttons. To me, it's almost like admitting that I am a robot. I'm just a machine that has to respond to the environmental stimuli. I have no autonomy. I have no awareness. So my emotions entirely depend on your actions. That's like admitting I have zero freedom. I'm just a slave to other people's behavior. To encourage this,
with endless trigger warnings, with endless, videos popping up about people being triggered and almost celebrating it. I think it sends the wrong message. It sends a message of victimhood, of being helpless, and of taking away power from an individual. If I say that you guys are triggering me, then all my power is in your hands in that moment. You decide who I become. You decide what I do. And of course, then I have to resort to blaming others. I have to then say, for example, I'm feeling miserable because of other people's actions. Or I'm feeling miserable because somebody uncovered my trauma by their actions. Like the way someone is looking at you, the things that people say or do. I believe they should not be, ideally, responsible for your own behavior. But they are. We live in a world where everything is interconnected, and therefore everything conditions everything. That's why the Buddha, for example, mentioned it is very important to spend time with noble friends, and even saying that the path lies in noble companionship alone. That's how important it is that who we surround ourselves with. That also is an admission to our lack of freedom, is it not? It means it's not up to you. You cannot just decide, I'm going to walk this path to enlightenment. That decision alone is caused by having spent time with the right people who prioritize that already. For them too, it's been caused by spending time with the right people, getting the right kind of information, the right kind of input. We're highly conditioned beings. That also means, for example, that we can easily be swayed and controlled by media. But whatever you watch then teaches you what to feel and think about the world. Again, no freedom. It's horrible to me. That idea that every single thought you have, even every single intention you have, is conditioned by other factors. It's not made by you. Falsely claiming that my own actions and my decisions are directly coming from the original source of myself, it's just that. It's a false claim. I'm claiming something to be me and mine that is not actually me or mine. And so we find ourselves in that situation. I don't think this is something to encourage, to celebrate, or to spread even more, to keep people in this kind of bondage. Thing is that even though people suffer a great deal when they are triggered, somehow it seems that they are not willing to give it up. I like, on some level, being triggered. Now, why is that, I wonder? Why is it such an important part of my life that what triggers me? Why am I triggered? And who triggers me? I think it has to do something with our sense of self. That I am fully me with all my drama and all my problems. Leaving that behind, I will lack something that is really important to me. Say, if I complain to you, or I blame you, in that moment I assume a personality. The personality of a victim. And if I'm victimized, then I might get compassion, for example. In some places, then when you go there and you tell I don't know, your parents as a little child. And, like little Frank, my neighbor, has bullied me, and you're crying and you're running home to your parents, and then your parents take you in their arms and say, "Oh, poor Tobi." And then I feel good. I feel received. I feel watched. I feel understood. I get attention. I get love, affection. I get care, and so on. I think some of us, they learn that very early in our childhood, that you get attention and affection and compassion every time you hurt and cry and scream and complain. Every time you cry, scream, complain, someone comes rushing to you, fixing your boo-boo. And so you can feel good again. All right? When we learn that, and we do not learn to transcend that at some point, I do get it, little children need that. It's really important for them, actually. They need to know that if they encounter danger, someone's got their back and protects them. That's important. But at some point in our journey of life, we should grow beyond that. We should then learn from our parents not only that you are being protected, but you can protect yourself. And here's how. Here's how to deal with bullying. If you ever encounter bullying, this is what you should do. But unfortunately, instead of actually empowering our children, lifting them on to the next step of their journey, we keep them at that step where they are powerless, perhaps because also parents enjoy the fact that they can control their children to some extent. Like they have the power over them. My children need me. It's really nice, I guess. I'm not a parent. I'm just a child. But I think that's a thing that parents actually also go through, which makes it perhaps really hard then to abandon their children when they're 18 and fly out of the nest. And suddenly, parents are thrown back onto themselves again. But this empowerment is something that would be hugely important. And we learn that from somewhere. And while ideally it should be our teachers, our parents, and our peers that teach us how to actually stand up to these things, how to remain unafraid of evil, and how to actually confront it in the right way. If you never learn that, you don't know. Then you just remain a victim of evil. Evil things are happening, poor me. And that's it. There's no evolution here. It's just something bad happens, woe me. And then it somehow like stops. Maybe it goes on with, well, something evil happened, poor me. It's his fault. It's her fault that I'm miserable right now. For those of you who are listening to this and struggle with precisely that problem, and I think that's all of us, at some point, we blame something else or someone else out there for our own problems. The answer is taking responsibility, being accountable for our own actions. And we cannot hold ourselves responsible, we cannot be accountable, if we do not have awareness, if we do not prioritize it, to look at ourselves and understand, to pay attention to ourselves. If you never pay attention to yourself, you might always ask others to do that job. Look, pay attention to me, I'm miserable. That is basically also saying that I do not have the capacity to pay attention, so I borrow it elsewhere. So you give it to me then. Feels good. But it would be much better if you have the capacity of attention to pay attention to yourself, so you have the power to understand what actually causes your pain. And you'll be surprised to find out that 100% of it is you. Not 99%, but 100. It's all me. And in the beginning, that might be a hard pill to swallow. It's all me. Every little bit of suffering is me and me alone. Sounds almost like it's not true. Yeah, but what about that politician? What about my neighbors? What about my enemies? What about those people that take things from me? What about the drunken driver that crashed into my car? And so on. That's clearly not my fault. I was just driving. I was just following the rules. How can it be me? Here it is. What is you is the suffering part. That is important. The suffering part. I'm not talking that it was you that crashed into your obviously it was the drunken driver that crashed into your car. Yes, it's his fault. But your response to that situation, that's you. And suffering is just that. It's a response to the reality of life. And the cause of suffering is craving and ignorance. That also is my responsibility. To release craving and to break through ignorance into clear seeing and wisdom is my job. And to start with that, we have to associate with people that lift us up, that empower us, not with people that pull us down. People that celebrate your victimhood and confirm it are not helping. They think they do, and everyone else thinks, oh yeah, that's so kind. But really, they empower the victim. They don't lift the victim out into empowerment. And that's what I think could happen if we hang out with the right people. If we consume the right type of media, then you come from a poor me to, here's a situation that is uncomfortable to me. What could I do about it? Rather than just resorting to complaining automatically like a robot and feeling miserable about myself, are there other options? You wouldn't even know that there are other options if you haven't had contact with noble, wise practitioners that might point you in that direction and say, look, you don't have to be a victim. You can also step into your power. You don't have to be a robot that is triggered, a program that responds to input. But there is this option where you are free from conditioning, you are free from conditions around you, you're not captivated by them. How do you cultivate it? If you find that attractive. And in the beginning, you might not find it attractive even. You might feel that this is, I don't know, this guy is mansplaining or something like this, that doesn't make any sense what he's talking about. Then ask yourself again, if you had the choice to lift yourself out of your suffering or remain stuck in your suffering, if you had a choice to keep being triggered for the rest of your life, whenever something bad happens, that you would have to be triggered by that, or the choice that you could end that and you could be at ease, peaceful, happy, regardless of what other people do, what would you choose? Would you choose to remain a victim? If that is the case, if you're really honest with yourself, maybe that comes up. It's like, yeah, it's more comfortable to be that. At least that's what I know. Then fair enough, then you made an educated choice in that moment. But I doubt that anyone in their right mind would actually make that kind of choice. that my happiness and my suffering depend on others, I would opt for freedom personally. And if I did that, if I opted for freedom, then the next question I ask myself is then what are the causes for freedom? Primary cause, associate with people who have it, who are free. That's primary cause. Hang out with them a lot. Spend time with them. Study them. Or just be with them. It's enough, really. And slowly, slowly that will color off on you. Different ideas will pop up. Different intentions will arise. And slowly you're on the way to a bit more freedom, to a bit more ease. Then secondary causes are that you learn not to react to whatever happens. How can we do that? Well, that's very simple. Just sit still. Just sit still. Don't move. You really want to move? Don't. It really hurts. Your knees are killing you. You're going to die. Your legs are going to fall off. Don't move. Your mind and its conditioning will begin to bully you. You're in that situation, you just sit there and you can't move. Your mind will come up with all kinds of reasons why you should move. It will bring fear. It will bring ridicule. It will bring doubt. It will bring suspicion. It will bring all these kind of things up. Stand your ground. If you learn to stand your ground, to not escape, to not wriggle your way out, in that alone, you will learn to rely on yourself, to not just respond unconsciously to whatever comes up. Really important skill to train in meditation practice. I think it's the very first thing that people should learn is to just sit still. Not even doing much other than just sitting still. Don't move. Deal with it. You're put under pressure. It's going to be difficult, and you're going to be whining and complaining. You do your whole victim thing. But if you're sincere about it, you will gradually learn that it doesn't work. You won't move. This is power. Who's in charge? You are, not your preferences. There is a more clear part of yourself, a bit more purified, a bit more powerful, that is now in charge. It's like you're parenting yourself. You're guiding yourself. And as you're guiding yourself, you kind of naturally learn how to pick yourself up when you fall, what you need to do to get through this. You learn it. Just really naturally. You're just limiting yourself to stillness. Just don't move. And inside of that, you become creative. And that creativity that helps you to deal with that situation, that is personal responsibility. It's being empowered, rather than just sitting there complaining and then getting up when it gets uncomfortable, which we usually do when we meditate by ourselves. When we sit by ourselves, we just follow our preference. If it gets too painful, we just stop the session. If it gets too boring, we just stop the session. Get into the habit of not stopping. Do the time. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour, whatever you set out to do, sit for that time. You want to put some pressure on the delusions. Putting some, it's like lifting weights at the gym. You need some resistance, right? So you build your strength in that resistance. You're not ever building strength when you have everything your way. That's another problem that I think happens when we value being triggered in some way. Then we get used to having the world our way. Everyone tiptoeing around us, people not using the words that they should not be using, everyone catering to me, everyone being careful what they say around me, keeps me safe. And I feel good when I'm safe. Just like a little child that feels good when they're safe. Because they don't know how to protect themselves. So they need to be protected. You can't say the words around them. They're the bad no-no words that shouldn't be said, because otherwise I get upset. And you don't want me to get upset, right? So you don't say the bad no-no words. It's really childish to demand others to conform to my own needs instead of actually fulfilling my own needs by myself. There's another aspect to this whole thing, which is a power trip. A type of narcissistic power trip, which is all about me controlling everyone around you to conform to my wishes. If I can do this efficiently, I feel good about myself. I can make people shut up. I can make people censor themselves. Because of me, that people all around me are tiptoeing now. I'm the puppet master. There's that aspect too. It's the enjoyment of control. Some people that demand everyone not to trigger them, if they would suddenly step into a powerful government position like the president or something like that, guess what they would do? They would become like incredible authoritarians. Tyrants. Like everyone has to cater to their feelings. That'd be horrible. A person like that, if they have power, if a victim has power, they turn into a tyrant. We see that all the time. It's when the victim is victimized, they're just a victim. But as soon as they have the upper hand, they will do exactly the same. Dangerous people that kind of oscillate between a power trip and victimhood. Very dangerous individuals. Sometime when there is like rapid government changes, like government being overthrown or something like this in parts of the world, then the rebels that have fought for freedom and so on, all the freedom fighters all of a sudden turn into the worst kind of tyrants and, pursuing others. Think of the, where was it? The rise of communism in Cambodia, right? With the Red Khmer and Pol Pot. If you've ever been in Phnom Penh, you go to the killing fields and so on, you can read of these stories. It's chilling. They're normal people like you and me. It's just suddenly they are in power. And then all the dark stuff comes out of them. I've been suppressed for years, now I'm going to be the suppressor. Very dangerous. So this whole game of victimhood and tyranny, they're very close to each other. Just like life and death. Just like laughter and tears. They're very close. One can easily tip into the other, and they do frequently. You can see it in your own relationships. When you are being wronged by your spouse, by your partner, often, all the time, they wrong you, they point the finger to you, and so on. If they make a mistake one day, wow, that's like so pleasurable, Like I finally got them. Like if your partner is always pointing out, like, you're wrong, you didn't study, why did you not Google it? And so on. That is not correct, and so on. Once you make that mistake, your partner will dance. They will love it. They will laugh about it. They'll pull you down because of your previous tyranny. This is this whole game that goes around between tyranny and victimhood. Very dangerous kind of duality, this one. Better to abandon both. And the way to abandoning it is pretty harsh. You'd have to really hold yourself accountable. You'd have to actually force yourself to stay, to not run away. You have to force yourself not to follow your preferences. And in that duress, in that difficulty, your true character will come out. You will start to complain, all of that stuff will come up. Now that's where you need to deal with it skillfully. That's the opportunity. So you're kind of tickling your delusions a bit by not giving them everything they ask for. Once they come up, you deal with them, you cut off their head. That's the good practice. As some of the Thai forest masters, they say frequently, that if you follow your preferences, you haven't even begun the practice. You still follow all of your preferences. Well, it's certainly not my preference to just sit in pain. That's not my preference. I don't want that. I don't like the pain. I want to get out of it. But yet I'm still here. I'm training myself to deal with it instead of just avoiding it all the time. So that's one of the best ways that I personally know to train yourself to become less and less of a victim and more stepping into your power. To become more disciplined, a better guide, a master to yourself, a good parent to yourself. Strengthening yourself, not softening yourself. It's a bit of a paradoxical thing because your greatest strength is in release. It's in becoming very soft no matter what happens. You become very soft towards it. So when people say the bad no words, your response would be, you relax. Let them say whatever they want to say. How nice is it that we are all free to say whatever we want? If they want to complain about you, it's their good right. Let them complain about you. Go ahead, you can complain about me as much as you want. Be my guest. I even tell my own mind, if it wants to complain about me, I just tell it, go ahead. Do your thing. I'll just be listening. I don't care about it. It can complain as much as it wants. Why would I take it on board and make it personal? Because it isn't personal. It's just a machine. The mind is just a robot, a machine. Just does its thing and just runs its programs. Why would I bother with it? Why would I bother with other people's minds? It's even more crazy. Like trying to make sure that you're all thinking the right thing about me. Like, how difficult is that? It's what people pleasers do. Trying to make sure that you're all perceiving me just right. And we become sort of like performers, trying to make everyone like us. That's horrible. This should be recognized as a mistake, a fault. Why do I say it? Because it leads to suffering, which is obvious. Everybody that's triggered, everybody that's a victim, they should at least admit that I am suffering. That's a very honest kind of assessment of the situation. I'm suffering right now. I need help. Imagine we would say that to our spouses when we're in an argument. I'm so angry right now. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm suffering. I'm burning. Please help me. You'd have to become super humble. You'd have to stop making yourself bigger than you are. Because obviously you're not. You're suffering a lot. You need help. If you said that in an argument, the argument would end right there. The admitting to the real problem, which is suffering. I'm suffering. And I don't know how to handle it. It hurts. I don't know how to deal with this. Can you help me? I think that's the only problem. It's just suffering. And the solution is to take responsibility for the remedy and actually doing the work that it takes so that you're suffering less and less and less. And eventually, hopefully, not anymore. It means regardless of what the world does, you're okay. You're happy. You're peaceful. That should be the desired aim. And I believe it is for all human beings anyways. Everybody desires happiness. Nobody wants to suffer. It's just we don't see the way out. And we don't have good friends around us that help us to get out. It's difficult to get out. By yourself, forget it. We need help. And when we have that help, and we have a good practice, we move on out easy. Not a big deal. Just steady moving out. So don't celebrate being triggered. There's nothing to celebrate here. This should be remedied. It should be understood as, this is my problem. It's no one else's problem. It's my problem. And I need to deal with it. And I need to seek help. That would be appropriate. Rather than just telling everyone else to fix it, to fix themselves. All right? That's all that comes to mind about being triggered. I hope you didn't get triggered by this. Okay? Enough for today. Thank you very much for coming. Have a good week.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.